Oh, it's a pretty day today. It's 90, but it's more like 103. Yeah. And people are down here fishing and enjoying the lovely day. And I had to keep the door closed the window closed because there's a diesel running next to me. It's kind of loud. Anyway, I've been really bothered this week with something. Well, I've been bothered with it for a while, but there's nothing I can really do. I've had 3 people come to me with some things that are on the internet. I don't know how long they've been up. And I kind of think it's not done by my daughter. I think it's her boyfriend doing it. Which explains a lot because I have been stalked and terrorized in a lot since December. And actually before that, I've had a lot of harassment on my YouTube channel and stuff like that. People make really strange comments. And they're not very nice, but apparently it's all coming from this situation. My daughter was apparently dating this guy before she was 18. And he convinced her to leave one day with no notice, nothing, just take off, which put a terrible scare into me. And I'll tell you all about that story later because there's some interesting things on the internet that state some very false claims. And it's funny how nothing's ever mentioned about who the guy is or how wonderful he is or his pictures or anything like that. This guy convinced her to leave with nothing but her uniforms. No notice to her mother. I was awake that morning. I was at my desk. And it was very, very early. And she said she was taking the trash out in 40-degree weather, and I told her she didn't need to. She said, no, it's okay. But now she had said several times before that, I don't like going to the trash because if there's people smoking weed out there and stuff, you know, and it's like, well, you never told me that before. But anyway, so she took off and left everything behind. And no notice. I didn't hear anything for 4.5 hours. And I get this big, long thing that was written, not by her, but by him. And I know that for a fact, and I'll tell you all about that later. And it says, I'm 18 now, and you can have all my stuff. I'm a big girl. And it kind of went on and on. And it was like, what? I mean, this is just not like my daughter at all. And we've always been like best friends, buddies, pals. We've traveled all over. Great fun to travel with. A real hard worker. And she had a lot of problems. About 6 months, I would say, before she'd actually left. She got really obnoxious, very much out of control. And I threatened to send her back to her dad's repeatedly because I couldn't take it. It was way too much stress for me. And so anyway, other than the fact with the pandemic where she refused to wear gloves, masks, and protective eyewear during the pandemic, and I went out and bought the stuff and she refused to do it, and I went up to her work a couple times to make purchases and she wasn't wearing the stuff at all. And I told her, you will kill me when you come home with that stuff and give it to me. Please, I beg you, you will kill me. And so anyway, and she continued on until they enforced it at her work and threatened to fine her and everything else. And you know, I'd started making hand sanitizer and I had made face masks, and she didn't give a damn about any of that. And anyway, I'll go back into those other details later, but she took off with this guy, and a couple times she come back to get some things because I kept telling her to come get her stuff. You know, and she stayed in numerous hotels, and a lot of my friends were paying her way, and she was lying to them. And Matter of fact, the day she left, she had a huge amount of money between my friends and then her paycheck, her $1,000 paycheck. Because I got pandemic bonuses, $250 a check and stuff. But anyway, this guy had promised to buy her a Lexus, and she was looking up Lexuses and told me about it. He's going to buy me a Lexus. And I'm like, well, what about the car we've been building at your dad's? I was going to sell my van to buy her a car, and those people test drove it and screwed it all up, and I sent it to a friend after the license plates were stolen at the shop it was stored at. So I thought they'd steal everything else, the brand new tires, full tank of gas, all that other stuff. And that friend helped me out years ago with a place to stay during my divorce, and didn't ever charge me a penny rent, refused rent. And I would take bills and go pay him behind his back and stuff. And I ended up giving him the van. I mean, you know, sometimes you got to pay people, you know. It helped him out. He was really in a bind. He had no car. And that was one of the greatest things I could do is do that kindness. Say, look, I got a car. You can have it. Merry Christmas. But anyway, I'm that way. I have friends that help me I never have to pay back because they're just that kind. They're like, don't worry about it, you know. Then I have friends that I borrow from straight out that I have to pay back. And, you know, I do that because people have burned the devil out of me for thousands of dollars that they were supposed to pay back and never did. Plus, you establish credit with people when you know, borrow and pay back if that's your agreement. But anyway, so, she came to me on 3 occasions and had told me, well, first of all, this guy was at her work. Nice fish, Jack. And he seemed very nice, waited on me a few times, clean-cut guy, very underweight, looks like AIDS, like 6 foot tall with AIDS. He's extremely underweight, but that could be due to his problems. Anyway, she came to me 3 times and told me, well, you know, he's a registered sex offender. Now, he's like 31 and she was like 18 when she left. And I'm like, that's not a good thing. And she said, oh, well, it was his girlfriend, and her ID was even in his car, and he was a cop, and that was his dream, and he got fired from that. And I'm like, this is terrible. And I mean, you know, sometimes people are innocent, sometimes people are guilty. It's just, you never know. He seems like a very nice person. But anyway, I don't think he's nice if he convinced my daughter to just walk out the door and not call or answer text from her mother, and her mother has to drive around in circles and call the sheriffs and everything else because she's missing, you know, from taking the trash out. I mean, that's just wrong. But anyway, and then she, you know, tells me, well, you know, he's going to get the charges off and he's been paying a probation or something. So the charges were from, apparently he was 21 years old with a 14-year-old child. Okay. And then my daughter goes on later, she's all furious about the girl, you know, wanting to whoop her butt kind of thing, that kind of attitude. And I'm like, how do you know? Well, she lied. And I said, well, how do you know she lied? I said, what if it was you? So she tells a story about how the girl apparently got a hold of this guy's credit cards and ran him to the hilt at the same time because she was mad at him or something. And I'm like, so how did she get a hold of his credit cards? And he pressed charges for that? No. Why not? If there's a girl and I'm a dude, and there's a girl that's claiming that I raped her or whatever underage, you know, and is getting ready to send me to jail, but you know, you're you know, not guilty, you're innocent until you're proven guilty, then I'm surely going to file on her for running my credit cards up and trashing my credit, using my money up. I would surely open my mouth about that, 100%. And so, she tells me some other stories. She talks to me like 3 different occasions about it. She brings it up. She's like, well, you know, he paid his probation now. It's all paid. And this guy was living in a house that apparently his parents owned when they were married, which they're no longer together. The father's in Hot Springs, Arkansas, my daughter told me. And then she told me that the mother lived in the Fort Walton area, but worked at the Destin Hospital. And I understood she was like a nurse or something there. It turns out the mother doesn't. The mother works as a manager of a business in Fort Walton that is nothing close to a hospital. I've never met the mother. I've never met the father or anything like that. I told her, I said, you know, your father wouldn't be happy with it. I just don't see it working. And I said, well, you know, it's a sad story. I said, whether he's guilty or not guilty, I said I would be his friend, but I wouldn't be involved with him any more than that, because he probably really needs a friend. He probably has no friends. People hate pedophiles, okay? My ex-husband was pedophile. A guy I was engaged to years ago was pedophile. But now they were never registered and basically never caught. And so, you know, it's not a good thing. But anyway, it's been like a year and she hasn't had a Lexus yet. She claims she drives his car and that's all the car they need. I said, no, you need your own car. And I said, you really need to get away from that gas station you're working at, you know, and you know, it was just a temporary 2-day-a-week job to suffice for the candy store when they bring the J1s in and cut everybody's hours back so that she could still get a full-time week. And so I really didn't want her to stay at that place. And then, you know, lately it was like, well, I'm going to be a manager. And I'm like, I wouldn't be a manager of that. I would go look for a better job. And right now, there's some great high-paying jobs. Any job you want in your dreams, they're available. They want people to work, and they're offering really good money. So you can pick of the patch. Easy. And most of them are hiring on the spot. She has got a wonderful job just recently in the hospitality industry. I'm so proud of her. The unfortunate thing is that since she's left, the few times that I've seen her, she's had sores around her mouth, which concerns me greatly. Her teeth are rotting away. And I spent so much money on her teeth. Cash. I didn't have insurance. I paid cash. Oh, yeah. We were driving from Georgia like every week down to the dental college in Phoenix Springs. Yeah. I've got pictures. Her teeth were beautiful. And it's really sad how she has become like 300 pounds. And she was very ghetto. She was really bad ghetto after she left. I had to bring her tax paper to her one day, and she was absolutely horrible. I got a video of that. And one side of her face was black, like she'd been beat. But with her mouth, she probably got clocked by somebody. If it wasn't her boyfriend, it probably was somebody else. Her mouth was just out of control. Jeez. I had a lot of trouble with the last 6 months that we lived together. But anyway, you know, I told her I would not get, you know, real involved with him as a boyfriend. I would cut that off immediately. I would just be his friend and be kind to him, you know. And I said, you know, I just don't see a future in it. And the next time I saw her, she was like, oh yeah, I'm so in love with him, and he's getting me a Lexus. She gets a place to live, and my friends send her extra money when she didn't even need it, and then she moves this dude in like 2 weeks later. Now, Jade was living in that big house that used to belong to parents out in Crestview, And I guess all the other brothers and sisters lived out there from what my daughter told me. And I think all they pay is just utilities, is what she said. So, he jumps in and moves in with my daughter, of course, because it's, like, real close to work. And then she tells me that he doesn't pay any rent or utilities. Excuse me? Here's a guy that's 31 years old. He was charged at 21 for being with a 14-year-old. Okay? He's 31 years old. And he's dragging my daughter through the mud, and she looks so horrible today. It breaks my heart. She's such a beautiful girl. And you know how guys will do? They'll make you ugly so nobody else will want you. The next thing to do is get you pregnant on purpose. And then you're going to be stuck trying to raise a child and run away from that guy at the same time. Other than the fact there's so many restrictions with a registered sex offender. Florida's doing a thing now where they put a street sign up in front of your house with the person's picture, the address, everything. On the internet, it has all their important information, like driver's license number, the license plate of their car, the color, the make of their car, their picture, their age, their height, their weight. I mean, everything. Their address. If they try to go out of town, like, say she wants to go on a trip, and I had told her this, I said, do you know he has to check in with the sheriff's department when you get there and tell them that you are, you know, that he's a registered sex offender and he's in town? This guy keeps catching fish after fish. And she was like, I said, it's a serious matter. I researched it on YouTube and the internet, and there's some really incredible videos. One is of a girl that was interviewed by a news person or something, and that looks like a catfish. It's just tiny though. God. But anyway, and the news person says, okay, so what's it like being with a registered sex offender? And she says, well, I love him. He's a wonderful man, and I don't think he's a registered sex offender. I just really don't believe that. I think those charges are false. And the lady says, well, obviously they've got it on the record, and, you know, there was cases, hearings, whatever, and he's registered. So now in Florida, you're registered for life. You won't get out of it unless one thing. If you can prove someone else did it, you'll get out of it. Otherwise, it's on your record for life. It's not going away. So anyway, the girl says, he's a wonderful man, but we move a lot. And the lady says, well, why? And she said, well, we have problems because, you know, they send that letter out to people all around you, and with a picture and address and everything, and then they just know. She said that sometimes people drive by and throw stuff through their windows. You know, rocks, bricks, whatever, with bad notes and stuff. She said that she has to walk around her car every time she goes out to it to make sure that it doesn't have flat tires or they've dented up or broken windows out of it, whatever. She says even when you go to the mailbox, that people will scream out really lewd, terrible things about, you know, your husband's a pedophile, whatever, and cuss her and stuff. And she said it just makes it really hard, you know. And the newscaster's going, you know, like, is it worth it? Oh, I love him. And he's innocent. Okay. Here's another one that has 3 or 4 small children and is not supposed to be living in the house with the wife, girlfriend, whatever. She's in a trailer house. And he's registered with his address at another address because he has to. Well, one day they track his phone. And they find out he's over at that property. Well, the sheriffs go over there, knock on the door, and ask for him. She said, oh, he's not here. He tries to split out the back door. They get him, they arrest him, they put him in jail. Because he was around his own children who are minors. Because he's a registered sex offender. So, it's really a big problem. Like I told her, I said, please don't have children by this guy. And don't let him set you up. Because I'm going to tell you, you won't like having an abortion. It'll really mess you up, too. You know, if you got in a car wreck and died, he couldn't get custody of your children. So they would go into foster care or something. They do try to get the closest family member, but, you know, her dad's in bad shape, and I'm not raising any pedophile children. It's not happening. But it's just really sad all the way around, you know. And she's like, oh no, he's getting it taken off. I said, he's not getting crap taken off. That's forever charge, pal. So a few of my friends researched it and called me, and they said, you know, he never went to court. Really? Apparently he was arrested, got bailed out. My daughter claims that the church bailed him out because they believed in him and everything. And so apparently he went in and he took the plea. He pleaded guilty. And I'm sure they told him, or he signed a document that has all the stipulations. And one of them is you have to be a registered sex offender. It restricts where you can work. It restricts where you can go. You can't go to Disneyland. Okay? Like, I told my daughter that too. I said, you know, you can't even go to Disneyland. I said, he can't even go down to Harbor Walk Village, down on the children's side. I said, they'll arrest him. You know, and I said, it's just so restricted. I do not see a future in it. But if you'll notice on her social media, she doesn't mention how this guy's a registered sex offender and how she's so in love with him, and he's buying her a Lexus. And, you know, I told her, I said, how are you affording these hotels? Because they were going up by the week because it's tourist season. And it had reopened from Corona. It was starting to reopen. So we were in lockdown big time. And she said, and I was laid off at the time because our business was closed because we couldn't operate it during the pandemic at all. She worked the special services, so she was working. She was the only one working. We did a little bit of DoorDash here and there, but it was tough. And I didn't even like doing that because I didn't want to be around people. So, you know, it's a total and royal mess. You know, and, you know, she had told me her dad knew. You know, I'm like, so your dad knows? Yeah. Oh, and he's been to the house, and Daddy showed him his gun collection. I'm like, yeah, I know why. And her dad is an absolute no about sex offenders, pedophiles. Because there was some instance years ago with his children, with a few of his children, with a family friend, and he caught him. And it didn't end up good. And I told her, I said, I'm telling you, George isn't going to go for it. And so, anyway, she was saying, oh no, they're friends, and and he likes him. And I said, he knows about those charges. Yep. I said, and what does he think? And she's like, well, it's just, you know, it's okay because, you know, he may be telling the truth that, you know, he just got framed like Roger Rabbit, right? And I said, man, you know, I find that really hard to believe. I just can't imagine your dad being that calm about that because he has an absolute hatred for it. Oh no, everything's okay. So, you know, you can always tell when people really aren't happy because they change for the worst. She looks like she's about 300 pounds now, if not pregnant, which would be so horrible. This guy has access to all of her accounts, which I told her, don't do that. I told her, you need a car because in case things go wrong, because she's a bit argumentative, it would be easier for her if she had a car so she could take off and think it out a little bit. But no. He's convinced her she doesn't need a car. She says he doesn't pay rent or utilities at her place, which is close to $1,000 a month. Why? When the hotels, I asked her, well, is he paying your hotels? Because they're going to go up every day by the week. Pretty soon they'll want $2,000 a week. And, you know, our house with the pool is $1,000 a month. I mean, that's just insane money. You know, if you can afford $4,000 a month, I mean, really. And I found out later she was lying to me about her pays and stuff and all that. And, but anyway, we'll talk about that part later. But she's like, oh no, I wouldn't take his money. And then they're doing $200 dinners over on Okaloosa Island at one of the most expensive places to eat. And it's like, I've never even been there. Yeah. It's just amazing, you know. So this guy's a mooch. Is she telling the truth? You know, because lately there's a lot of lies on the internet. Lots and lots of them. And I'm not impressed. So it's really bothered me so much. I just don't know what to think. There's a guy recently that, I guess it was this year, and people have been writing letters to Trump so that Trump could release this guy from the state pen till they fully charge him. And this guy was looking for a house in an area, driving around. He decides to look up pedophiles, registered sex offenders, pedophiles, because it's free access on the internet. It's all free. Everything's there. And he finds one on the corner, and he notices there's a play set out there by the street. And that pisses him off. He's like, no way. Apparently he goes up to the door, knocks on the door, and a very elderly guy answers the door, and he's like, you're a effing pedophile. Why do you have a swing set, you know, on your property? And if I ever catch a kid here, I will do this, I will do that. And da-da-da-da-da. And this guy ends up shooting this older man. And says, well, I wouldn't want one on my street if I bought a house there. So this guy is in jail still. And they haven't fully charged him yet. And you should see the comments. There's YouTubes and there's other writings, and the comments are like, great job. That's what should have been done. I mean, you see so much stuff. Right now there's all the district attorneys in a lot of states are getting together to see what they can do to make it stiffer for the sex offenders. Because they hate them. And the reason they hate them? Because they say that they usually do it again. They usually will do it again. Here's my daughter, who a guy has made her ugly. Her hair is whacked off. She's now like 300 pounds. It's so sad because this is a little girl that loves to sing and dance. She doesn't sing very good, but that's okay. She's having a great time with it. And she does like a creative dance thing. She really loves dance. And as a matter of fact, she's got like a ton of videos on the internet of her singing and dancing. And it's really cool. But, you know, she doesn't look anything like the day she left our house at all. You know, like I say, she's come to me 3 times discussing this guy, and I've told her very nicely, I just don't see a future in it. You know, none. 0. You know, you can't go anywhere, you can't do anything, and, you know, you can't have kids with this guy. I mean, it's just worthless. You know, I feel for him, innocent or guilty, but the stories don't match up of what she's told me at all. And if you were a cop, you already know in advance, they teach you all that in the academy about handling minors and whatever and all that. You know better than to jack with a 14-year-old girl and be doing her. You know? So, I don't know. It's not me. I don't know all sides of the story. All I know is what she's told me and what I've researched on the internet, what other people have researched on the internet. But he took that plea of guilty, and there's no turning back. Not in the state of Florida. The only way you turn back is if you can prove someone else did the crime. The problem is, he took the plea of guilty. There's no reverse. The judge will not go for that. No, it's not happening. And like I say, now in Florida, they're putting up street signs in front of people's houses that are registered sexual predators or offenders. Right in front of the house. Can you imagine living in a house with that sign there? I mean, that's just beyond scary. And in Texas, I think it's a 50 or 100 mile radius. They send letters to every one of your neighbors to tell you you have a sex offender present, and they send the picture, the description, the car, all the stuff. Here in Florida, in this part of Florida, it's a lesser mileage around. It's, 5 or 25 miles or something. But that already means that all of her neighbors have been notified, because that guy lives there. Like I told her when she got her place, I said, don't put him on your lease, because they're going to not even accept you. For your first time place, if you're going to try to get a place, do not put this guy on your lease. But she claims he didn't help her with her hotel. He's not paying anything at the new place. And I believe there's 3 people living there. I think his sister or something lives there too. And it's like, my daughter's got to fit all these people. That's bullcrap. I wanted to help her set up her first place. I would have loved to. I have plenty of stuff to do so. I offered her all the furniture in the house. At first, I offered her half of it. And then when I had to move, because I was illegally evicted during the pandemic, I offered her all of it. I'm like, here, and I'll even help move it. She's like, well, I don't have a truck. Well, she was only a few blocks down the street, oddly enough. Not far. You can rent a U-Haul for $20 if you needed to, but, I have a truck too, so, But anyway, it's just a total royal mess. And I'll tell you about the day that she left and some of the problems we had before that at another time. But, yeah, I'm not proud, and yeah, it's really been bothering me, and there's really nothing I can do. Now, what he has done to me and using my daughter as a tool for it, I thought it was my ex-husband terrorizing me, and he's been dead 30 days. So it hasn't been him. Apparently it's been this guy, and they are posting stuff, and then people are getting alienated. People that even know me and people that I don't even know are making statements like, where does she work? I'll whip her ass. And I mean, I'm having stalkers, and people are damaging my car. I mean, I'm having a lot of problems, and I really feel that he's conspiring for serious bodily injury to me, and to kill me. Not a doubt in my mind. Because one, he doesn't like me because I don't approve. My daughter came to me one day and she said, you have to accept him. And I said, well, excuse me, let me tell you in your own little getaway. He's not my dick. I don't have to accept nothing. Okay, that's your problem. So I told her. Because that's the way she talked to me. That's what I told her. So, and bottom line, that's the truth. He's of no importance to me. He's nothing more than an acquaintance. I don't approve of the situation, but I can't stop it really because now she's over 18. I wish her more happiness in the world, but we all know it probably won't work out at all. And, unless he's beating her to death, threatening her and everything else. He drinks around her, and I think she's drinking or doing drugs. I really do, because some of this stuff I've seen on the internet that was shown to me recently looks like she's under the influence of something. And, it would really upset me if she were to lose her driver's license. That's really a problem when you're trying to work and growing up in the big people's world and need to get around. You need to keep that license. You need to be in control of yourself. Do not rely on any man. You need to be able to do for yourself. But she's so twisted up with this guy where she told me that he has passwords to all of her accounts, and then he wanted to buy her the new $1,000 phone, which I heard she bought one and spent all kinds of money when my friends were giving her money to so-called helpers. She was out wasting it on luxurious items, just like going to that restaurant over there and buying $100 each dinners, and they do it often. Have you lost your mind? I had told her, save your money. Save your pennies. We're going through a pandemic. Save your pennies. Because we don't know what's going to happen next. We have no clue. And then I told her about her landlord. I said, you know, your landlord finds out that guy's a registered sex offender. Oh, he knows. I asked him if I could move him in. I said, because, yeah, they'll raise your rent, too, for bringing more people in the house. Oh, no, he's fine. And I have a 3-year lease. I said, well, I've never heard of a 3-year lease. I said, so, you know. She doesn't always tell the truth, so you don't know what to believe. She's a sweet girl. She just kind of like her dad for entertainment purposes only. He really means no harm. He just likes to talk. He's a doll. I love him. He's my friend. But guess what? He didn't know that she's with a registered sex offender. She lied to me on numerous occasions. So I guess she'll have to deal with that. It's a shame because he's like 2 foot into his deathbed. And he doesn't need all this stress, much less do I. And why should I have to pay the price with all this bull crap? Because of her and her boyfriend, which is now her fiance. And the next thing is all that stuff on the internet. I've had locals here tell me that will get her put in a loony bin. I'm like, oh my God. And I don't think she even did it. I think he's doing it. Two, if her job sees it, you know, you have to be careful what you post on the internet. And there were some very negative postings about her other job. And I don't even believe that she did them. I think he did it. And she knows better than that. She doesn't post crap. She's just not that way. All her stuff's like singing, dancing, and fun stuff. She doesn't post harmful, mean things. And there were some weird posts about people she worked with and that, which just didn't even sound like her and don't need to be on the internet because somebody's going to come back to get her. And I don't want to see that happen. She's really a good-hearted girl and a hard worker. She doesn't deserve any negative drama, anything. And, you know, like I say, I can't do much about her. She's of age. But she's come to me several times. She has got some of her stuff, but she kept saying she didn't have room. So you moved a guy into your house that moved all his bullcrap in, including on the back patio. Because I'd offered her, you know, the patio furniture and stuff, and she's like, oh no, there's stuff out there too. There's no room. And I'm like, oh my God, your landlord's going to fry you with stuff everywhere. But he tells her not to take anything. And he writes the letter, the text message to my phone that says, I want nothing. I want nothing. Now, she didn't mention that in some of this stuff that I saw on the internet. I left with nothing. Well, because that was your choice. You know? I kept talking to her dad. I'm like, well, she come get her stuff. Well, she come get her stuff. She did come a few times and got some stuff. And he probably made her throw it in the trash. I mean, her most prized possessions, everything she left behind, her computer, you know, all of her electronic stuff, you know, and stuff that my friends bought her, stuff that Rusty gave her that were right before she died that she wanted her to have. And I have 67 boxes in storage, and she doesn't even help pay for the storage. And then at one point she said, just save it for me, put it in storage. So I don't know, but it's really a sad sight. And I think she's in really grave danger for a lot of reasons. But there's no future in it. I'm not seeing it. Because that guy that killed that sex offender, they're still trying to get him cut loose. And saying it's a good thing. And you see, you know, listing after listing of people going, yeah, it should have been done. Oh my gosh. You know, you do have to think about what if it was you, you know? What if you had a bogus charge? You know, well, The only thing is, at one point she said, well, I think the third time she brought it up to me, she said, well, he didn't want to go to jail for 20 years or whatever. I was like, you know what? I'd be sporting that orange jumpsuit. I would never plead guilty to something I didn't do. Got me? Never. So there's too much lies, too much bull crap, too much wrong information, too much crap for me to have to worry and stress over. And now it's caused me great harm. I mean, I fear for my life from this guy. And I met with the sheriffs twice last week. And because of some stalking stuff. And they said, you have any problems with anybody? I said, no. There's nobody at all. No. I said my two exes, but gosh, they're dead. One died several years ago, and the other one just died like 30 days ago. So the money stopped, so it's ended. And they're like, you sure? And I said, well, the only thing I can think of is this guy that you guys know. And because I'm in the way, because I don't agree with what she's doing. You know, he doesn't like that. I have my choice and my prerogative and my thoughts, and that's just what I think. So sorry, but I'm listening and researching, and this whole thing is horrible. Like I told her at the beginning, you know, she's like, this guy has a crush on me, and it was way after the fact anyway. And I said, you know, I would be kind and be his friend if you believe in him, but I wouldn't let it go any further because there's no future there. You will have a very rough life. I mean, you don't want to be living in a house where strangers and neighbors are blowing it up, throwing stuff through the windows, putting a bomb in your car, you know, going to your work, telling your boss, oh, she's with a sexual offender of a 14-year-old when he was 21. Oh, please. I'm having a problem with that. And why did he take my daughter so young? Looks repeated to me. There's evidence right there. So he's going to do it again too, right? Just too much stuff points towards guilty. Sorry. It's just not sounding good. I hate it because she's a wonderful girl. And everybody deserves to be loved, but, you know, she's believing in somebody that's telling her a bunch of crap and won't even pay his way. You know? Other than the fact she kept saying she was buying him this expensive thing and that expensive thing. And I'm like, why? What does he buy you? You're insane to spend that kind of money on that guy. Save your pennies. You know? Oh, but I try to make his wishes come true by getting his dreams of these expensive items and stuff. And I'm like, no. What's he doing for you? So I don't know, you guys. It just bothers me. And after all this stuff that people have showed me and sent to me, and things that have been posted on the internet, which I think are, he's behind it all and created it all, which had no business being on the internet, not for 10 minutes, and is causing me great harm, that this guy is conspiring to have me seriously injured or killed. And he's drawn my daughter into it as an accessory, possibly. And possibly one of my other children, who jumps in there and is like, yeah, go for it. So, don't worry, it's all documented and it's here too. So, you know, this is what happens when you put stuff on the internet, because even if you delete it, it's still up there. Law enforcement can find it years later, even after your closed accounts. So be very careful what you put on the internet. Be very careful what you say. And be very careful of all of that, because it might cause you harm at your work. That's not cool. It might cause you harm at your place of residence. Why all that needless drama? There's an old Southern saying. It's called reap what you sow. I'm telling you, you'll get it back one way or another. If it's before death or after death in your lifetime, you're going to pay for that. And it's not worth all that. Try to be kind. Try to have a good heart. Try to do right. And when people say, you know, I'm thinking it's not good, listen to them. Research it. Research it. Because to me, I'm going to tell you bottom line, and I'm going to tell you in a really gross way, no dick is worth all that. There's no dick good enough to pay their way and put up with trash like that. You know, it's just upsetting. It just bothers me. She's such a wonderful girl, and it's not cool. I'll tell you all about the other stuff later, because I got to. You know why? Because if something happens to me, it's got to be here. Talk to you guys later. I love you. Stay safe. And research people. Do a background check on them before you're with them. You can go to crimetalk.com with Scott Rice, the lawyer, and he has a thing there where you can pay to research any person you want. It's really cheap. Do check it out before you mess with somebody. I wished I had done it years ago. Love to you. Talk to you later.